What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm here, I'm not at my usual setup. I'm at Let It Fly in Pagosa Springs, Colorado, which is my local fly shop. And you guys requested guide flies, so I'm just giving you people what you want. I didn't, not gonna film my guide trips where I yell set 1,000 times. So I figured this is gonna be a little more interactive, a little more fun. I'm gonna tie a pops bugger today, which is really popular in the comp scene as a lake fly. I fish these in lakes, in rivers. It works. And if you hate tying woolly buggers like I do, you're gonna really appreciate this fly. I'm gonna tie an olive version with a hot orange bead. This is the way that I learned how to tie them. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. I got a Falling Mill Jig Force size 10, I have a Falling Mill Heavyweight Champ size 10 in the vise with a 3.3 millimeter bead or a 1/8 bead and some UTC 70 denier olive thread. So I'm gonna start right behind the old bead, just build a little thread base there. Let me lock this in. Not super used to tying on this vise. So I'm gonna wrap back to where about the barb should be. Gonna do a little trim action here. And we're gonna tie in a Marabou tail. I'm gonna tie this humongous style. So that just means the tail is gonna be about 2 times longer than the shank. So I'm gonna come grab my Marabou and I want it to be about a hook gap width. So grab these bad boys, strip them from the stem. And then a nice thing you can do is come back here and snap the tips. You wanna even these things up, because if they're not even, you will catch 0 fish. So measure the shank length, that's 2 shank lengths. 1, 2, counting the 2, doing the impossible. All right. Come in here, right behind the bead and trim. We're solid there. After I wrap back up to the bead, I'm gonna wrap back to the tie-in point on that Marabou. And the next ingredient on the list is Palmer chenille. So this stuff, it's quick to work with. Just gonna trim a little bit. And it kind of comes on this chenille, go figure, right? It's Palmer chenille. So I'll just trim close the butts to the cord that it's on. And that's just gonna make tying it in easier. You can just tie it right in if you want. You can do whatever you want. Just be you. Live your truth, right? So wrap back. Now I'm gonna throw a dubbing loop in here. And this is phase 3 or phase 3 if you're in New Mexico. So, I'm right-handed, I'm wrapping away from myself as you can see. So to create this dubbing loop, I'm just gonna pull out some thread, use my finger and then wrap away from myself. And then I'm gonna close the loop by coming up and over. That's gonna lock that loop into place. And if you guys want, I'm gonna try to do some more basic tying stuff on this channel and we'll go over loops. I got some fun stuff planned. My season's, like I said, it's going off a cliff here this month, so a lot of free time. So gonna grab some Simi Seal, and that's the Bronze Peacock. Gonna strip this out. We're hanging out at Let It Fly in Pagosa. If you wanna really experience like what fly fishing in the Southwest is all about, Pagosa is a great place to do that. You're 2 hours from the Conejo, so you have the upper San Juan right here, 1.5 hours to the tailwater. You're 1 hour from the Animas, 45 minutes from the upper Rio Grande. If your spouse doesn't fish, there's plenty of stuff to do. And on top of that, you can come check out Let It Fly here. So got my dubbing in the loop, gonna spin this up. All right, then grab this brush, just pick it out. And I'm gonna palmer this forward. And again, this fly, once you get these down, if you're not yapping like I am, you can just hammer these out. So if you're a big fan of the woolly bugger, you're gonna love this thing. It works. All right, tie that off, trim. I wrapped away from myself with the dubbing, so I'm gonna wrap towards myself with this Palmer chenille. And I'm just gonna do big, kind of loose spirals. And it's okay if you trap some of this dubbing down because we're gonna brush it out when we're done. Just pushing the Palmer chenille back, and then I'll come around, give it a little collar, lock that down. Come over here and trim. Then you can I'm gonna hit the thread with a little bit of super glue. Get that right behind the bead. You cannot, I actually forgot my whip finishing tool. I guess I have a barb in the barrel of this. But anyway, that super glue will hold. So now that that's in there, look, overcome, improvise, adapt. Sometimes life doesn't go your way, but it's all right, just stay positive. So super glue is gonna keep that seated. I'm just gonna loosen up the vise a little bit so I can rotate it, and I'm gonna come, and I guess I didn't tie this as tight as I should have, or wrenched it, but I'm just gonna brush it back. And voila. There you go. Pops bugger. Catch fish all day long. All right, an awesome, quick little guide fly, the Pops bugger. That's how it's done, ladies and gentlemen.
What you got there?
Oh, Pops bugger.
James. Pops bugger. That's a pretty nice fly, but it's not quite the Pops bugger.
Well, Pops, everybody. Who better to learn a Pops bugger from than the guy that invented it?
All right, let me show you what's going on here. Okay. This is going to be the Olive Pops bugger. The original with modifications. So I'm going to start out with a Tiemco 5263 size 8. Stick that in the vise with a 5/32 copper bead. Drop that on there. And I'm going to put 12 wraps of Aught 30 lead on there. 12 turns. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then I'm going to leave a space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the reason I have the space in there, just a little gap. And then I'm going to put some super glue in that little gap there, and that'll hold the lead. That way you don't have to wrap a bunch of thread over it. Push that down. Okay, for thread, I've got a dark brown UTC 70. Back to the hook point. And then we're going to grab some Marabou. I use the hairline blood quills, strung. Weed through them and I strip them down like that, and I'm going to use 3 feathers for each tail. So I like to have a little bit of water around. Just makes them easier to manage. So there's 1, 2 olives, and then I always sandwich another color in between. In the case of the olive, it's going to be a brown, dark brown. These are kind of wet. Here we go. Somebody spilled my water earlier. So we're going to line these up, get the tips line with the brown in between the two olives. Get those lined up. And I want it to be a little bit longer than the hook shank. About there. Tie that in. Get rid of this stuff. And all this is going in back of the lead, so it's going to take up that gap and kind of even things out. Then I've got some holographic Mylar tinsel. This is gold. This was a Spirit River product. They're not in business anymore, but I still have some left over for anything in about a 32nd of an inch. I'm going to wrap one side and then fold it over, so I basically have two strands on that side. Do the same thing on the other side. And cut it just about the length of the tail, maybe a hair longer. And that's that step. And the way I do these is in steps. So I start out with the lead, that's one step, because I usually do a dozen at a time. Is that? I have copper brown chenille, speckled hairline product. And I had some around over here. Well, we'll just pull another one off. There it is. Strip a little bit of that, tie it in right on top of where the Marabou is tied in. Go to the back, come forward, and I take one turn of this stuff, the chenille, and then just take one wrap just to hold it in there. And then I'm going to put my Palmer chenille in there. This is a brown. Stuff's kind of a pain in the ass to work with, but I switched from regular saddle hackle several years ago because I find this is more consistent and more durable. Tie that in all the way to the bead and start wrapping your chenille. Right to the bead. Okay, everybody. Almost a disaster, but not quite. Yeah, this is how the pros do it. Start palmering the Palmer chenille in there. Two turns right at the end. That off. And whip finish. is the Olive Pops Bugger. Anytime, anywhere, under any conditions. That's it. So there's the Pops Bugger colors available at Let It Fly or at Umpqua.
Well, Pops, thank you so much for showing me how to tie your Pops Bugger.
My pleasure.
I appreciate it. This is my local shop here in Pagosa. If you're in Pagosa Springs, Colorado, be sure to check out Let It Fly. Meet the man, the myth, the legend himself. If you guys want to support Pops, either do it in person. I'll leave a phone number for the shop. Just don't ask him what his favorite member of the Spice Girls is. And thanks so much, everybody, for watching.
Thank you.